Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 104 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. This was a lot. There was a lot going on in this one, so let's get started. We start in Vasselheim inside the Platinum Sanctuary. The world leaders have gathered, and due to a bit of a commotion caused by Grog, to move out of the way, everyone starts looking at the party. All of their eyes lock onto them. The party apologizes for the noise and tell them to keep going with their conversation at hand. The room returns to listening to the conversation in the middle of the chamber. They hear people talk about gathering armies and moving them around. One person says they have unlikely allies from darker factions and chosen of the betrayers, sworn themselves to this cause. The Bright Queen yells, "Absolutely not." An older woman in robes talk about the alien fighters the enemy have and what they can do, and then she asks how they can fight them. The party see an older man, Geltheed of the Ember Vigil. Imogen saw him in the Highlands during a parade when she was younger. He was only briefly seen and left quickly. He is an archmage for the Suwargis capital of the Talon Highlands, where she's from. He says the Bloody Bridge is the cause of the ley line's issues and threatening them. It must be destroyed. Gavis Armunda, a member of the City of Jushar's leadership, says that the people are in disarray because of the solstice, and the Ruby Vanguard growth has been mostly stopped, but Ludinus's influence is still being felt. Another figure says that matters at home must be put on hold, as the window of time for them to act correctly is closing. Geltheed says that not everyone has the resources to deal with their matters quite yet, or very quickly. Another figure asks what happens if they fail to quell the worries of divinity. What if the gods destroy the Divine Gate and start another calamity leveling Exandria? What assurances do they have that the gods will let them deal with this problem by themselves before resorting to Armageddon? Ashton laughs at that. The room grows quiet and they all hear his laugh. Ashton says that Ludinus told him what he's going to do next, and they're already doing it. The people look at him and wonder who he is. Keyleth steps forward and tells the room that there are those fighting Ludinus and the Ruby Vanguard going to dangerous places trying to find answers and be helpful, while everyone here just argues. She lifts up her hands, and in the water in the middle of the room begins to float up in the air. It forms into a sphere and shows a vision of the Hellcatch Valley and the Bloody Bridge at the dig site. Massive parts of Exandria are being pulled into the air, and the landscape around the key is being formed into a great fortress. Towers emerge from the ground surrounding the key. Ashton wonders if it's got anything to do with primordial powers, but he can't quite tell. The room watches the fortress settle, and the water falls back to the ground. Fern asks if that was a live feed, and Keyleth says that was the last thing they saw before they were attacked at their encampment. She says everyone needs to work together now, and that begins to echo out through the room. Jaman Saord steps forward to say that Keyleth is right, and Ank'Harel is in agreement with her. They ask who else is like-minded, and the Bell's House say that they are, and they lift their hands, and figures around the room begin to lift their hands as well. Another figure puts their hand up and speaks. They are Zaif Ulden. They say that the Concord agrees and will commit any non-naval forces to end their enemies and anyone on Ruidus. Allure says that there are innocent civilians up there on the moon. A High Curator steps forward saying that they are godless people born in the shadow of the God Eater. They don't belong in or near their sympathies. The Bright Queen asks if they can be sure that the people of Ruidus aren't all hell-bent on their destruction. The wind picks up in the room, and the tension dissipates. Keyleth has her hand up. She says, they do know some people who have been there, and they're here now, and she points to the Bell's Hells. Orm says that they've been there, and have seen it with their own eyes. Lana looks for Ivaroa in the room and rolls a 24 perception check, and she sees a short hooded figure amongst the Arashari, and assumes that it's her. Or knows that it's her. Orm says the people here don't have all the information, and the Bell's Hells can fill the gaps. Keyleth says that these are the Bell's Hells to the rest of the room, and they have offered their lives many times over to stop Ludinus and the Vanguard. If anyone should speak, it's them. Imogen says there's a lot to say, and the room settles, and a path opens up to the center of the room for them, if they want to use it. As they walk forward, Breus uses his divine sense to see if there's any Celestials, Fiends, or Undead around. He feels a handful of Celestials throughout his chamber, but can't quite pinpoint where. Orm says the situation on Ruidus is just as complex as things are here. There are people who are oppressed and some are fighting, but the worst of Ruidus and the worst of Exandria are working together. Lana says they have just as much diverse culture, biomes, and wildlife as Exandria does. Imogen says that the people on Ruidus know of the gods, they've experienced it through themselves, or through the people in the room. Laudna says that they call Exandria the Blue Promise or the Blue Dream. The people there dream the dreams of the people on Exandria. Laudna uses silent image to show the races of the people on Ruidus, the Ruidians. Imogen says that they want to talk more, but they have little time and they ran into Ludinus in Islecross, and what he found will shock them all. The Bright Queen asks what he found, and Ashen says proof. Imogen says that he discovered memories of Aor leading to the downfall of its city, and everything that happened and the gods being involved, what the gods did. Laudna shows the mortal forms of all the gods. Imogen says that Ludinus will try to show everyone this vision inside the memory. Imogen says that some people here found it hard to believe the chosen of the betrayers would work with them, but the gods worked together in this vision. On that day, they worked together. Orm says that some of the mages looked to kill the gods, and the gods came together to wipe them out. Ashen says that they taught them a lesson. Someone yells, "Good, they deserved it." He asks if they are all worried about the truth. He then steps forward, and it's the holy curator of the Lawbearer. He says they needed to work together because the city was needed to be destroyed. The Age of Arcana is a cautionary tale. Ashen says that it's also the height of the gods' arrogance. Some people in the room gasp at this. He asks if they really aren't prepared for what the people will think once they see this. Are they really that blind? The other members of the Bell's House calm Ashen down, and Orm says that he's not wrong. They have met many who have been swayed by Ludinus. Laudna shows the gods letting their people die during the vision of downfall. Brea says in times of trauma, even those faithful can make allies with terrible entities. They don't want that to happen to anyone here, but some of the members of the chamber nod at this. Brea makes a persuasion check, and it's a 33 on the fucking roll. That's cracked. More and more people begin to nod, and even some of the high-ranking members of the temple seem to be taken back by these words. Keela says that the danger of the reveal is one thing to be debated, but the fate of the people on Ruidus is just as important. She moves aside and shows the room a hooded figure. Ivaroa takes the robe off, showing the people her Bormodo form. She looks around the room, and she's filled with awe and terror at the same time. Her Saita climbs up and begins to comfort her. She introduces herself to the chamber, and she tells the chamber of Ruidus and the rough life and the inner conflicts on it. This has kept most clans from walking in the dreams of Predathos, but instead make them walk in the dreams of people of Exandria. She says her people are historically gentle, but have been honed to a deadly edge under the Weave Mind over generations. She explains how the Weave Mind work with Ludinus to reach down to the Promised Blue. She says that most of their people want to be left alone and to be able to walk in the golden fields of Exandria. They can be kind and beautiful without the Weave Mind, just like the rest of them here on Exandria. They have that in common. The room is taking in what they're seeing right now. Ivaroa says that this world is in disarray, and she says that she was coerced into being a part of this plot, and she's sorry for it, but she's sorry for the mess that they are in, and it was by design, meant to hold them back until it was too late. She can help, but all she asks is for empathy for her people who are misguided and have been indoctrinated. She says that is all, and then she walks off. Orm says that they would be far better off to try to win over the Ruidians as their allies against going after those at the top working with Ludinus. There's no need to start a war against innocents. Laudna says that they have made allies on the moon already in the Volition, and they just need resources, loyalty, and trust. A middle-aged man steps forward, and he is wearing the symbol of the Cerberus Assembly. He says that he represents the Assembly, those who were duped by Ludinus and his plot. He says that this is a grand boon, but these people have traveled beyond the bridge. They might have been duped as well. How can they trust the Bell's Hells when the Assembly themselves were tricked? Chatter fills the chamber. There's a loud boom in the center of the room, and the High Bearer, Vord, steps forward. He says there's been a lot learned today, and they have just suffered a strategic loss. They should adjourn for the evening and counsel with their inner circles. In the morning, the finest minds will regroup in the Trial Forge and speak of a unified plot. Once they are done, they are to return and debate and seek approval. There's another boom, and the groups all start to break off and talk amongst themselves. The party is swept up in all the groups started gathering around them and talking. They head up towards Keyleth, and she is with Allura and Kima. Keyleth says that she hates this place and that they should step outside. Imogen hopes that they didn't speak out of turn, and Keyleth says not at all. They need more of that, and they need to talk clear with a clear goal, or others will be able to debate them, and she hates that. Allura says that the Trial Forge is the best place for the plan at the moment. They start to head out of the sanctuary. Lautna says to Allura that there seems to be a lot of very important people here. It seems to be every important person. Allura says that almost there should have been others that should have been here, but they're not. Lautna asks what kind of safety measures that the city has just in case everything or something were to happen here. Allura says that the city has existed for a long time for many reasons, and she points to the top of the wall surrounding the city, and on top of it sit a bunch of shrines. She says that those stop things from flying over the wall. She says there's also a bunch of wards all over the city. She then points to a silver dragon on top of the sanctuary. Allura says that there are 3 dragons in the debate, and 2 of them were inside the chamber in incognito mode. One of them is Jermasa Ord. And there are many more protections throughout the city. Lautna says that that's great, but this is a 1,000-year-old elf with space magic that they are fighting. Ashen asks if they would normally go to him in a moment like this, and Allura says no, Vasselheim wouldn't go to someone like him. They aren't necessarily fans of arcane magic after all. Imogen asks if the wards here have been weakened like the others, and Allura says it's possible, but all magic has been weakened lately. Orm said this place has fought against gods, and Vox Machina stopped a would-be god here. Grog slaps Allura on the back and says, yeah, they did, and he says that he was the one that stopped the Titan in the middle of the city, one-on-one. That's why he has the Titan Stone knuckles after all. Fern asks for a closer look at the knuckles. He holds the knuckles up to her, and they begin to glow red, reacting to her Titan shard. Ashton needs these Titan Stone knuckles. Or her. I think either of them would be really cool with them. He pulls back from Fern and wonders what would happen. She wonders what would happen if she were to put them on, but Grog says no. Fern asks his name, and he says that he has a legendary title. He is the Grand Puba Didoink of all things, and one of the masters of Whitestone. He's a legendary warrior from Vox Machina. His name is Groggery Strongjaw, and Pike says that Groggery shouldn't have been drunk during the meeting, and Pike is happy to see the party. She introduces herself to Dorian and shakes his hand. She says that Grog and her are here as bodyguards for some people. Imogen asks who, and Pike points back towards Vex, who is talking to Keyleth. The party get excited when they see Vex. Pike says she's mostly here to stop Vex from getting too angry at the people around here. The Bells introduce Breas to Pike, and Breas says that this is his first day, and he asks if the party actually went to the moon. Breas is just barely shorter than Grog, by the way, and Grog is sizing him up. Seeing Breas' horns, Grog puts on a helmet that has a long horn on the front of it. Breas says that they should arm wrestle for it, and Grog says that he can in 10 minutes, but Breas says 12, and that's too high of a number for Grog, so it stumps him. Chetney asks Pike if there's anyone they shouldn't bring her name up to, and Pike says not really. They should be okay if they just stick with Keyleth and Allura. The party asks Pike to go with them, and they ask Keyleth where they're going to be going next. Keyleth says that they're going to go to a place that she actually likes here in the city. Vex walks up to the party and is happy to see them, but asks where FCG is. The party inform her of FCG's death, and she's sorry to hear that. The party asks if Percy is here. Vex says no, she's representing the Tal'Dorei Council. She has a few more meetings that she has to do today, but she'll be at the Forge the next day to meet with them. Chetney says that there needs to be an understanding before they war plan. The info that Ludinus has is an insight into who the gods are, and the city is dedicated to them. So this conversation is going to have to talk about moving with or without the gods. Ashton tells Pike to be ready, as one of the gods that was in the vision was the Everlight. Chetney says there needs to be a way to tell who's telling the truth and who's not. Brea says that he can actually do that. Lana then excitingly shows off the scar of where Delilah has been sealed away inside her chest. Keyleth, Pike, and Vex freak out at the mention of Delilah, but the party explains that Delilah is now trapped thanks to the Soul Anchor. Allura says good luck, Delilah, based on what they know about the Soul Anchor that the party told them and how it was holding a grand demon. Vex is excited by this and asks if Laudna can torture her. Laudna isn't sure if she can, and Vex says just make her hurt. Laudna looks inward on herself and pushes through the darkness within. She hears the grinding of metal. She eventually sees Delilah chained up to an unseen wall. She asks Delilah what her least favorite food is, and Delilah says that she will get out of here and destroy her. Laudna then says unseasoned beans it is and leaves. Laudna tells Vex that Delilah is very unhappy, and Vex says that she might sleep well tonight. Vex leaves. Grog, Pike, Kima, and Allura leave with her. Keyleth is all that remains. Fern asks why Keyleth seems very unhappy here. Keyleth says that she has a hard time with bureaucracy. She respects the temples, but she's not a fan of them, and some of the people who were in power and how they got that power. Orym notes that some of the people here were some of the heaviest hitters in Exandria. Cheni says that they all need to know what the party know to sway them, but it's very clear that the High Curator, or the Holy Curator, is very closed off. Orym says that they need to tell Keyleth everything, but it's going to be hard for her to hear. Keyleth says that she's used to that, and tells them all to walk with her. She leads them down the stairs, and they meet Everoa. She is hooded up, making sure she's staying hidden from the regular people. She is stressed out still, and thanks them for listening and for sort of encouraging her during that conversation. She then takes in the landscape, and sort of takes in the snow, and is very excited by it. The party follow Keyleth through the city, and she leads them to an outer wood gate that leads to a forest that is inside the city. They see all sorts of plants and trees. Some of them are glowing to give off light here. Keyleth says, welcome to the Birth Heart. This is where the Wild Mother claims her holiest site in Exandria. This is where she leaves her vestige, a staff that she is currently holding from the Wild Mother, and she shares it with the Hierophant here of this region. Sorry if I said that word wrong. She says that they should walk and talk. Orym says that he's never been a man of faith, but he has felt her presence on their journey, watching with bated breath. Laudna says that she was in Aor, and she ripped out one of the mage's throats with her teeth. Keyleth actually very much likes this. Orym says the gods had a plan to take time to resolve the issue in Aor without any bloodshed, but that didn't happen. They sort of ran out of time, and things started to spiral. The party explained downfall to Keyleth. Keyleth asks if what they saw will move the needle in Ludinus's favor. Brea says if others see it, there will be doubt, and it shows that the gods made good and bad decisions. Imogen says that they will see their gods being human. Keyleth says there's some comfort in ignorance, I guess. Fern says that she doesn't want the vision to get out. She'd rather people make their own choice. Imogen says they won't see the gods are bad, just fucked up like the rest of them. Laudna says the difference is when people are put back into a corner, they are limited, but the gods aren't. Ashen says that he was dropped off in the middle of nowhere, but he made it, and that gives him a mild sense of superiority right now. Keyleth says it may not turn people away entirely, but the drop in faith will definitely weaken them. Imogen says that they need followers. The Everlight was weakened when her followers were killed off. Ashen says the smart thing to do would be to kill them before they talk about the fact that they know. And the fact that they do know things is a mistake. Chani says the gods don't have the time. They need to be reborn again behind the gate. Imogen says that they put up the gate because they were too present. And Orym says that they learned and left after the events of Aor and the Calamity. Brea says that he didn't think people would trust them to be faithful to their word if they came back. Ashen thinks Ludinus has a plan for any of the plans that they make, and Keyleth wonders if that's actually what he just wants them to think. He's not actually that far ahead. Ashen says that Ludinus just wants people to agree with him. Imogen says that he needs them, and Ashen corrects her and says that he actually just needs her and Fern. Chani says it's pretty simple. Ludinus is trying to free Predathos and kill the gods. They aren't sure what happens after that, but maybe Ludinus is trying to do something else, and they just don't know about it yet. The party say that they should be ready for Ludinus to spread the information out. Keyleth asks how the party are sure that he's able to do that. Breas asks Dorian how legends are normally spread. He's a bard after all. Dorian thinks that you need people willing to listen. Keelah says people who are gripped by fear would work. Dorian says that it's history repeating itself, being made to choose. The last time the people chose, 2/3 of the world died. Dorian just wants to save the most amount of people, and he doesn't know how to do that. Orym says that they have no idea what will happen if Ludinus pulls the trigger, and Brea says that there are others working for the Betrayer Gods. Maybe they would be good allies. Keelah says that she's been to the Hells and she's not sure she wants to work with that group at all. Ashton asks if the gods have spoken to the people, and Keelah says that they have spoken to their higher-ups, and everything they have said have been at the behest of the gods. Dorian says that that's just what they normally say, and Keelah nods. The party wonder if they should go talk to the gods themselves. They aren't sure if they can. Keelah says that it's been done with many different outcomes. She says that she has spoken to the gods, or a few of them at least, herself. Imogen asks was one, and Keelah says that she met with the Mason of Ravens through a connection with someone close to her. Laudna asks if she's talking about the man who turned into a marble at the Malleus Quay. Keelah steps forward, and she says that is the greatest loss that she has suffered, and it's from her. So things between them are complicated. He is in a lot of pain. They will stop this. They will destroy the key, and they will save him. Laudna says that they should ask her just to free him then. The party asks how she spoke to the gods, and Keelah says that there are many ways to travel between the realms, but they can't go ill-prepared. Orym says they have direct knowledge of that day, and they can learn from the gods, and the gods can be taught from them at the same time. Keelah says that it's possible, but they should give a prayer at one of the temples here to ready them and sort of tell them that they might be coming. The gods don't like unexpected guests. Fern says that she tried to call out to them before, but she got no answer. Keelah says that this is the place for it. Laudna wonders what the leaders here are hiding, and Keelah says that they are hiding a lot, but so does every leadership around the world. Chetney asks what she got from talking to the gods, and Keelah explains basically the end of Vox Machina, where her and her friends had to fight a new god that came to power, and they had to craft artifacts to seal him away called the Divine Trammels. The gods were the architects of the Trammels, and they had to forge them at a forge using the god's power. And they fought this new god at the peak of the Titan. They sealed him away. Breas asks what if they free that god and use him to kill Predathos. Keelah says that if he ascended, he's going to be much like the other gods, so it's not going to be very useful. Dorian says that he understands why Ludinus thinks this will sway people. They've talked about a handful of gods, and Keelah fought one, and she hates the other. Keelah says that she's met the Dawnfather. He was just a peach. She said that sarcastically. She says that she met the Matron, who is a complicated but lonely woman. She met the Everlight, who was once a fallen god, and sees the best in everyone. There are many gods who feel far away as they choose to be. She's not a fan of the gods, but they are in a realm of one who she feels the closest to. They stop at a massive tree, and this is the Birth Heart, one of the trees that is the symbol of everlasting life on Exandria. The Wild Mother watches over all. She watches over nature, and nature can be difficult. It can teach, it can take, it can be a force of nature. Orym sees seedling is growing on his back, kind of. Orym thinks of when the gods arrived, and he rolls a 28. I don't know how high his history is. It's kind of insane that he rolled that high. He knows when the gods showed up, they tamed over the ever-changing landscape of Exandria. They pushed the elements to their respective realms, but there were beings here before the gods. The Eidolons are one of them. They were a part of the natural throne of the world. Before the gods came, life was a cycle of rebirth, and once something died, it would just return to the land. There was no afterlife until the gods showed up, and now, when they die, they leave the realm. Orym feels a buzzing warmth from Seedling. He pulls it out, and the vines are reaching towards the Birth Heart, the massive tree. The party feel a warm buzz going towards the tree. Warm breeze going towards the tree. I'm going to leave that in because that's funny. Orym touches his sword to the tree, and one of the heavy roots begin to glow. Orym says that the party could use a friend to talk to, and and he places his sword in the tree, and then he kneels down in front of it. The roots begin to shift and wrap around Orym. Flowers sprout out. In seconds, Orym is surrounded by vines and flowers inside of a cocoon. The party ready themselves, but Keyleth tells them to relax. Orym feels the warmth of the cocoon around him, and he hears the sound of nature all over the place. The vines pull away from him. Orym is now in a moonlit glade. He looks down and he sees that he is made of leaves and he has no armor and no weapons. He steps forward and feels the forest around him. He feels very welcome here. The branches unroll from above him and a golden light fills the glade. I don't know why that was hard to say. The branch reveals a face, the face of the Wild Mother. He is super small in comparison to her. She looks down at him and Orym thanks her for letting him go there. He says he's never been a follower, but he has taken note of her and he asks if she will talk to him. He feels the wind pick up and he doesn't hear words, but he instead feels her intentions. His path is his path, no need to apologize. Orym feels him with her, with them. Orym says that he and his friends saw a downfall, and he tells her that lewdness means to show everyone. Her smile turns cold and the leaves begin to fall, and half of her face turns into Asha's face, and wolves begin to howl off in the distance. She reveals paths behind her and she pulls away. He tells her to stop, but she doesn't. He sees many paths leaving the glade. He turns back and sees that his friends are not here. He is in fact alone. He walks up towards the paths, and he sees two, one to the left and one to the right. He picks the right, and he enters a dark wood. The trees are all tall and thin, and they begin to crack and peel. He sees a statue, much like the one that he saw where he received seedling from, and it's cracked and looks abandoned. He touches it, and it crumples away. Orym says that he doesn't want that to happen. He's worried about the balance that she made for the world. He fears Predathos. If she means for the mortals to maintain the balance, it would be helpful for her to give him anything. Orym places his hands on the ground and he tries to grow life here. And he does. He looks up to see her face once again. He gets the sense that she is the one who maintains the wildlife in nature, but her will is put forward through him. Her smile falls and her eyes turn red and the light around him turn red. He sees a vision of a shoreline, an island built with towers and walls, titans walking around it on the edge, and a star falls from the sky, and the light burns red. There's a flash, and he sees standing over the landscape dozens of family, faceless family. The gods gathered around the star. Two of the gods then suddenly vanish, and the star grows brighter. The people of the island are very fearful, and he feels their fear. And then sadness. He sees the mountains begin to shift as an agreement is made. The island is swallowed in by the massive stone, and ruins and glyphs light up around it, trapping the coast and sends it up into the sky. He hears the screams of the people as they are thrown into space. He knows the hunger of nature, of a predator, of being abandoned, of survival. He feels a flash of hunger that he doesn't understand. It's outside of him. It is very primal. It's driving him mad trying to understand it. He makes a wisdom save, but he fails. This brief look at cosmic hunger overwhelms him. He hears a high-pitched sound and eventually realizes that it's actually him screaming. He then feels the Wild Mother is very sorry for what she had to show him. He has now changed and there is something broken or something has been rooted inside of him. He says that he knows that they are flawed like their children. Whatever comes next, please let the garden grow. He feels a warmth from her, and he feels unconditional love in this moment, coming from her. And she asks to protect them like they protect mortals. The leaves then crash open and he is curled up into a ball. He sees mountains, forests, seas. He sees nature itself. She says that we protect this. He feels something on his shoulder, and Orym turns and it is Will. Will says, together, and Orym holds up his hand and he takes it. Vines then surround their hands. Orym says that he's got this, and Will touches his cheek and tells him that he knows that, but he needs him to live and not to live in his life in the shadow of Will's. Orym says everything eventually becomes one. Will says that he'll be ready, and then Orym falls and lands in darkness. The rest of the party watches the cocoon opens up, and Orym comes out of it. They see Orym again and ask if he is okay. He tells them that he had a meeting with the Wild Mother, and he wishes he had a course of action, but he still doesn't know. He takes comfort in what he saw, though. He says that he saw their foe and how old it is, and he explains exactly what he saw. He says the gods were terrified and then ripped a piece of the world away to seal it away. Imogen asks where it comes from, and Orm says beyond the stars. Orm thinks that this was before the schism, as they all agreed to work together and the civilization was destroyed in the process. Breas asks if he would trust what he saw, and Orm says that he believes what he saw in Eor, and he believes that they are broken beings like them, and he believes that they still care to tend for this world. Breas says to give his faith to her, and then she'll give it back. Orm says that he'll be more of a partner and less of a follower, as they have work to do to find their own redemption. Orm says that he still doesn't know what to do, however. Keelah says that the more you know, the less you know about how to deal with it. Chetney then sees two branches from the birth heart on the ground, and he picks them up stealthily and puts them away. For himself, because he needs his wood for later. Keelah says at least they are open to talking to the right people. Orm then pulls Seething free from the tree. It is now longer than it used to be, and there are two golden gems, as if her eyes were guiding him. This is a vestige crafted in this era, not in the previous eras. So it is not called a vestige of divergence, but instead a relic of the red solstice. That is badass as fuck. Keelah says that they can stay inside the birth heart if they want to, and the party very much want to. They need something to drink. Keelah asks Ivaroa if she'll stay with them as well, and Ivaroa is looking around wide-eyed at everything, and she says nothing compares to this place. She's sorry for everything. Ashen says that it's pain that they've inflicted on each other, and she's earned this. She's done a lot of hard work. Keelah says that there will be more work for her tomorrow. She's needed to be at the Trial Forge for planning. Keelah leads them inside the birth heart, and they see many twisted elven hallways. She gets them a very large guest room, like one single room with a bunch of beds. It's a little bit too big for them. Keelah says that she hasn't slept for 3 days and she needs to go have a rest herself. She walks off for the night, and Ashton grabs a drink. Chetney starts carving into his wood that he got from the tree. Ashton tells him that he's going to steal it when Chetney sleeps, and the party wonder what the plan will be tomorrow. Chetney thinks they're going to try to destroy the key, but wonders what that will do. The party think that it will restore things the way they are, the way they were. Imogen says if they get rid of the bridge, it'll cut off Ludinus and his forces. He doesn't know about the back door. She thinks it'll be hard to get into this new fortress, however. The party wonder what even made that fortress. Orm knows that it was way too quick to be any betraying Earth Ashari. Lana thinks back to the fortress, and its buildings are very similar to the ones that were in or closer to the center pillar of Kvirus. Imogen wonders if it was the Weave Mind who created it, and Lana says that they've seen what Ruidus-Borns can do. Like Imogen, she has taken out an entire city block. Dorian says that this bodes poorly for the guy wanting to wipe all the enemies out. Imogen says if they take out the bridge, they can still help people up there. Breas asks if they will tell everyone about the back door, and the party say no. Lana says that it's very small and it'll take a lot of time to help people out through there. She says Ludinus has been ahead of them every step of the way. He'll be expecting attack on the Malleus Key. Orm wonders if they can catch him off guard and attack from Ruidus instead, using the passage. The party like this idea. Ashton suggests using the Volition to attack the key from Ruidus, and to then drop into the center of the key at the dig site and take the key out there. Lana wonders if they are past the point of destroying the bridge, as the Weave Mind might be on Exandria already anyway. The party knows that the bridge has been locked in place above. That Ruidus has been locked in place above the bridge, and it has been putting pressure on the ley lines. This worries many mages that it might do irreversible damage to the magic of Exandria. Imogen thinks they may need to hit it from both sides at the same time. Chetney wonders if the other side is fortified now. Lana thinks a lot of people will die, and Breas says that they sound just like the gods destroying a weapon. Dorian asks Orm what he feels about the Wild Mother, and Orm says that she means well, and he wants to see the best in all of them. And it took a long time to find the balance that they have now, and there's no way to know if what Ludinus is offering is going to be better. Orm doesn't think the party will just sit by and let him do his thing. Chenny asks if they can talk to Ludinus, and Ashen says he's not done talking to the gods yet, but he's okay with the party making this choice. They are the people in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what makes them the right choice to make this choice. They will probably die during this, and they are risking everything. The gods never felt that. They got a small taste in Downfall, and it terrified them. Ashen's life has changed a lot since he met the party, and no one is better equipped to deal with this than the party. Imogen says that it's funny. They were doing this already with little attachment to the gods. Mostly FCG was their attachment. Maybe that is why they were the best choice for this. They were very unbiased. Dorian says that Orm went to the other side and he still doesn't know what to do. Orm says that he thinks he knows the right thing to do. Ashen understands not wanting to die, but to sacrifice thousands in order to keep that from happening is another thing entirely. Laudna says that maintaining the status quo in that room, the Platinum Sanctuary, also helps the gods, and that's why people want to push for that. Ashen says that he wants to talk to the Archheart. He felt shame and wanted to die during Downfall. Imogen and Fern think he was actually just bored. Ashen still wants to ask. Laudna says, as someone who died a few times, there are some thrilling elements to it. Fern asks where Laudna went when she died and if she remembers. Fern then asks if Matilda worshipped any gods. Laudna says that she used to take part in crop festivals, but that was about it. Imogen wonders if the gods get anything from those kind of festivals, and then Laudna tells Fern that she was in some sort of limbo inside of Delilah. But she knows that when you die, you go to the gods' realm and you float around if you follow them in their space. And she wonders if that's the same and if it's even worth it. Ashen asks what happens if you believe in none of the above. Laudna doesn't know. Fern asks if you just float around alone instead of being in their realm. Chenny says that maybe they can't worry about it now. They have to plan the next day at the Trial Forge after all. Orm asks if they can talk to Ludinus. He wants to try to trick him by telling him they have a plan to attack the key. The party don't like this idea. They want to keep everything a surprise. Chenny wonders if they should let the people who want to attack to just attack. It might be good for them. They hope Keyleth hasn't said anything about the back door, and Chetney says that they should rest. Imogen questions if they should be in charge of choosing where people's souls go after all of this, because technically that's what they're in charge of deciding right now. Laudna says this is a one day at a time sort of thing. Brea says that he was picked by the Lord of Hells and they all have his guidance. Orm asks about his ability to get people to tell the truth, and Brea says that he has a spell for it. Orm asks if it'll work on Breas, and Breas thinks so. Laudna wonders if they'll wake up in the morning and Ludinus will have shown the world the vision. At this moment, Breas decides to cast his own truth, and everyone is inside of it. They're going to be playing some sort of tell the truth, spin the bottle game. Chenny asks if Breas is happy serving the Lord of the Hells, and Breas says that it's been his biggest honor of his life, and he says that he hasn't been to the Hells yet, and he hasn't met the Lord, but gods reach out in many different ways, and he has a connection, if not a literal one. Orm asks if Breas will turn on them at any point, and Breas chooses to spin the bottle instead of answer. It lands on Imogen. Laudna is okay with it. Breas gets excited and starts to turn more into a bull-faced minotaur. They kiss, because it's a kissing game. I think I forgot to mention that. It was a good kiss for Breas, but Imogen wasn't too into it. That was based on a performance role they made. They all make performance roles. Breas says that it's a possibility. He turns on them. Chenny asks if Ashen agrees with anything that Ludinus says. Ashen says no, he agrees with some of it, of what he said, but not all, and he has to be stopped. Ashen asks if Breas has a grudge against the previous god that he used to follow, and Breas says yes. Ashen asks if he would save the party or hurt the Platinum Dragon if the opportunity presents itself. Breas says that his goal is to stop Ludinus, not hurt the Platinum Dragon. He doesn't think he'll need to stab them in the back either. They seem to be good people so far. Chenny asks Fern if Ludinus offered a way to save her closest friends, would she work with him? She spins the bottle and lands on Chenny. They kiss. They don't need to roll. They've already had a relationship in the past. And as they do, Fern tries to steal the branches from the birth heart. She beats his perception rule and takes the three of them, because she's mean. The three little things that he's carved away at. Fern then plays with the sticks right in front of him. She says that this is a power dynamic. He needs to know who's in charge still. Dorian asks Laudna if Laudna would be willing to deal with Imogen if she becomes a vessel for Predathos, much like how Laudna asked for them to deal with her if she fell to Delilah. Laudna says that she would if Imogen asked, and then Imogen tells the entire party to do whatever they must if that happens. Laudna says that is the last resort, however. Dorian then spins the bottle and lands on Chetney, and they kiss, and it was a good kiss, and Dorian is kind of pissed off about it. Chetney just laughs. Laudna asks Dorian how he's dealing with the death of his brother. Is he running from it? And if he could, would he reverse it if it came with a cost? Dorian says that he won't make any deals with anybody, but he says he doesn't know his place in all this. He feels unimportant sometimes, and that's okay. That's how his life has been. But when he's with the Bells, he feels important. He can't believe they've been thinking about this entire time. He's gotten good at putting his feelings where they should go instead of where they, want them to go. He says he's going to keep doing this. He hides his feelings, and he's okay with that. He only had one brother, and none of them will replace him. He was a fool, but he was kind and honest. If he was here, he'd help them out right now. He asked them to honor his memory by doing what is right, but he doesn't know what is right anymore. He once told Orym to stay steadfast, but that was more for himself rather than Orym. He thanks her for asking, but he's fine. He's definitely not fine. Definitely not fine. That is not a reaction of, I'm fine. Laudna asks for his name, because there is power in a name, and Dorian says, Cyrus. The party cheer for Cyrus, literally cheers, they cling their drinks together, and Ashen adds, to all who walk with them, and who are not walking with them. Laudna then spins the bottle, and it lands on Orym. They kiss, and it's a horrible kiss, as they both rolled low performance. Good thing they're not together, because that would suck. Ashen finishes his bottle, and then follows Fern to her bed and points the bottle at her. Breas across the room is very jealous, and Imogen telekinetically holds up the blanket for them to block any view of them. Fern asks how things are going, and Ashen just grabs her by the back of the head and kisses her, and she kisses him back. He then pickpockets her and grabs a tiny spoon. It's engraved with a TJ on it. He then gives it back to her right away, and then kisses her again, and they do that for a while. Orym watches Dorian sleep, but Dorian doesn't actually sleep. He has his back to Orym. Fern puts the birth heart branches back in Chetney's hand as Chetney sleeps. Again, she just wanted to point out the power dynamic. The party then rests up, and they wake up a little later than the rest of the people here would have, as they stayed up longer. They make their way to the Trial Forge. They ask around to be able to find it, and they find it no problem, as there is smoke rising from it. It is in the Braving Grounds. This area seems to be a bit more rougher than the rest of the city. They see a Colosseum with a Colosseum-like temple with robed monks out front, and many other guards from many other places waiting outside. One of Keyleth's guards tells them that the meeting has already started, but only just barely. They head inside, and there is smoke throughout the entire air here. They are brought to the war room. Inside is Earthbreaker Grun, Vex, Kima, Allura, the Bright Queen, the Queen of Uthadern, Jamansa Ord, Topher, Ivaro, and Keyleth. Keyleth says that they only just started, so it's a good thing they showed up now. Ivaro is explaining the glass of Ruidus and how it is the remains of Predathos, or of Predathos' original form when he was sealed away, or when it was sealed away. And how they chip away at this glass. It took years and the Aeorian devices to make any headway. She says Predathos is in the center of the moon, and it is called the Hollowed Cage, which is a heavy boundary that the gods used to seal him away in his eternal sleep. This is why the Rudisborn were created, so that they can break through it and set him free. She says everything that is happening is all to get to the core of the world. She believes they should be focusing everything else on that, as anything else is a distraction. And if they succeed, everything else will be like a domino effect. Keyleth says that they've been able to look within the fortress, and there is a large Ruidian army there being led by Sunder King Ozo Kruth. That is one target. Keyleth explains the Weave Mind to the rest of the people at the war table, and asks Everoa if they travel a lot. Everoa says that they don't need to move. If they do, it's just with good reason. They can influence many places from Ruidus without having to move, with their minds. She doesn't know enough about their limits. Imogen says that they have withered bodies, and Grun says that means that they can die if they are withering away. That makes two targets, Ozo Kruth and the Weave Mind. Imogen says that the Weave Mind were very powerful even without their physical forms. The Bright Queen asks where they might be, and Imogen says that she can reach out to her mom to find out exactly where they might be. Lana says that they have a vague idea of exactly where they could be in the central pillar, but not too sure, like, an exact pinpoint. She then pulls out a globe of Ruidus and shows the war room. They all take it in. They ask Ivaroa if this is accurate, and she says it's an estimation based on study. Dorian asks how many people on Ruidus are compelled to help Ludinus and how many of them are doing it on their own free will. She knows that many act out of fear, but the Ruby Vanguard have also offered hope in the Blue Promise or Blue Dream, depending on your persuasion. There are many who are against the Weave Mind, like the Volition, but they don't speak up against the Weave Mind, as they are truly a terror on the world of Ruidus. Allura says that they have Ozo at the key, they have the Weave Mind on Ruidus. Orym asks if Ludinus can achieve this goal without them. Imogen says that he can, but it'll be much harder for him to do so. Fern asks if Everoa has any information on the Weave Mind, like personally, and she says that she doesn't have much, but when they rose to power, it was a high point for Rylorans, and began the subjugation of the Bormodo, Quanicas, and everyone else anyone else that wasn't Ryloran. Anything before that was cast away, which seems to be a pattern on both worlds. But most everyone doesn't want to be seen by the Weave Mind, but it's best to do as they're told and not question them, to sort of just lie low. Chetney says that they have control of the back door, and they can go after the Weave Mind if they must. The Bright Queen perks up at this and asks about the back door, and Chetney tries to play it off, but he doesn't do so well. The Bright Queen asks for trust and to lay out all their cards on the table. Fern asks how they know that they can trust her, and Allura says that they need to work together. They are allies and they don't wish ill will toward each other. Fern says that she wants to hear that from the Bright Queen. The Bright Queen says that her people were cast from the light. She was there at the end of the calamity in the shadows of where the Spider Queen put them. They walk now in the path of the Luxon, the progenitor of all light and life. What Ludinus wishes to do will send echoes out that would leave them all in despair. While they don't worship the gods, she acknowledges the alliance between them. Fern accepts that. Chetney explains the back door, but they don't know if it's currently safe, and Keyleth says that it is in fact safe. Keyleth fully explains the portal and how the Bellsails found it in Isilra. Chetney apologizes for the mistake to the party, because they kind of wanted to keep it secret. The Queen of Uthadurn asks if they can use it to send armies up through it, and Orym says that it's far too small for that. Vex says that they can send up strike teams. Ashton says that they can forge plans with the locals there. Vex doesn't think that that's necessary. She says that they have the key here, and they have the Weave Mind and Ludinus as targets. If they assault any one of the three, the others will be notified immediately. How do they deal with that? Imogen suggests that one can be a distraction. Chetney says that they'll be expecting an attack at the Malleus Key. Dorian asks if he's suggesting that they be the spearhead for the attack. Imogen doesn't think that that's a good idea. It's not the right call for them. Keyleth laughs and says that she might know a few legends willing to do it, and if it means destroying the key, she wants to do it herself. She's going to try to pull her friends out of retirement. The return of fucking Vox Machina. Vex and Allura smile at each other. Allura says that they need to attack the Weave Mind at the same time to split the forces. The hard part is communicating the two teams. Ashton says that the Bellsails will need to be invisible. They are known targets on Ruidus. Allura says that she knows a group who fought against similar psychic trauma, and they need to return together in one piece. She might have a group for the Weave Mind. The Mighty Nine. Fuck yeah. Grun says the most important work will be near the Hollowed Cage, meaning they need Ruidus born, and the Bellsails have too. If they can do this at the same time, they can put the enemy on the back foot for once. And that means the Bellsails have to go after Ludinus in the Hallowed Cage. The Bells agree. Allura says they have till the walk to the Platinum Sanctuary to back out of the conversation. The party asks if the temples and other leaders will want to send their own people. Allura says they haven't been to the moon themselves. The best for the job is the Bell's Hells. And they're going to have to keep the back door to themselves. Chetney agrees. Vex stands and says that let's hope that they go for it. They have to convince Xandria to go along with this now. Fern asks the Bright Queen about the Luxon, and the Bright Queen says that she follows it. Lana asks if it's very similar to Predathos, and the Bright Queen says no, the Luxon broke itself apart and made this world, and is now it rests until they bring it back together. She looks up at her staff, and there's a beacon on top of the staff. Ashton says that he is one of those and rages. Space lights up in his head. The Bright Queen's eyes open wide. His rage then ends, and the Bright Queen is very concerned by this. She says that she trusts him, but they'll have to talk after all of this is done. The party feel good about this. Keyleth says that if they fail to convince them, they should just do it anyway. Topher says that this will be such a fight, and Grun says that he's felt the Stormlord prepare him for fights in the past, and this feels right. He asks Allura if she's ready to break a castle. Allura says certainly. Kima says let's break a castle. Vex and Keyleth nod to each other. Everyone exits the chamber. As they leave, Imogen asks Grun in his head where he goes to speak to him. Grun says that he fights. She then sees a flash of a sand pit in the temple somewhere. He says, when you are ready. They all step out, and Imogen then suddenly feels a pain in her head. She is suddenly in a dusty red expanse, then a storm blows away. She's now in the Highlands, where she grew up. The dreams that she's always had 100 times over is now in reverse. She hears Imogen. Imogen says, Mama. She turns and sees her mom, who says Imogen one more time, and the session ends. So there you have it, episode 104 of Campaign 3. And is it just me, or does it feel like it suddenly feels super close to the end? Like, with them, I was initially under the impression that the Bell's Hells would be the ones to go after everything. Zathuda, they would eventually go after, the Sunder Lord and like the leaders of Ruidus and Kavirus and all that stuff, the Weave Mind, Ludinus himself. But with the idea that Vox Machina will go after the Malleus Key and Ozo Kruth, and then the Weave Mind being dealt with by the Mighty Nine, and Ludinus being dealt with by the Bell's Hells, suddenly everything feels a lot shorter. I was expecting to at least get into like the 120s for episodes, but now it feels like it might end at like the same length as Vox Machina, like 114 maybe. I feel like it suddenly went from having like 20 episodes left to like 10, but I don't know. I am very excited at the prospect of Vox Machina and Mighty Nine one-shots. I am super hyped for it because I love both groups, and I'm very excited to see them back again. It's very cool that they're going to have like a more important part of their overall story, as opposed to like certain individuals of each group being more important. Something to point out that I thought was really cool was, I guess during the cooldown, Sam actually suggested that, why am I spacing? Robbie should play Taryon Darrington so that he can be a part of it still, which I think is really cool. Which makes me wonder, who would he play for, like, the Bell's Hell? Sorry, for the Mighty Nine, because there's a handful of characters he could theoretically play, right? Like Mollymauk or Caduceus, depending on what Talzin wants to play. Which I imagine those characters are probably like very like sacred to him, so maybe he wouldn't want him to do that. Which sort of leaves like the door open for like Veth or like Luke, depending on what Sam wants to play. And then, he could also just play Essek based on what he saw in what they did on like with Essek in these episodes for the Bell's Hells. So who knows? I would love to see Robbie be a part of these still, because that would be really cool. But that's not the point. That's neither here nor there. That's the future, and I'm very excited for that. This episode was insane. There was so much going on, so much being talked about, so many like important individuals in this episode. It was very cool. This is an episode that is going to split people because there was a lot, and I mean a lot of talking. So this is going to be an episode that splits people about their enjoyment. I fucking love this one, but that's just me. Anyway, I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. I will see you guys then. Peace.